Hello friend, Joe at the office here. Today I want to talk about how to use the address and indirect functions in Microsoft Excel for development efficiency. I've created a video series on how to create a household personal budget, and there's 4 videos out there that you can check out on my channel. And I want to use, I've been trying to solve something for a little while, and I found that these functions, address and indirect, help to solve this issue I've been having in the budget. So let's go ahead and start looking at it. So I have the budget document here for my annual personal household budget, not mine, but just a scenario, and it shows all the values. So you can check that out on my channel. Let's remember 25 and 2800 are our wages. We'll use that later. So this is the budget, but every month I'm going to need to populate actuals. So I have a worksheet here called Jan for January that I want to go in here and populate what I actually spend versus my budget, so I can see the differences in how much money we have left over or how much we're short. So one of the things I want to do is, eventually this annual budget is going to be 11 more worksheets here on the bottom, one for each month. But I don't want to change formulas for every time I copy this spreadsheet. I only want, if possible, I only want to change one cell inside of this. So to do that, as you can see right now, I just have this cell equal the budget worksheet B4, which is my wages. So if I copy this over, it's still going to equal B4 from that worksheet. So we don't want that. So I want to start talking about how we can do this. So I'm going to show you how to use the indirect formula. And the indirect, you can use this function to create a reference that won't change if row or columns are inserted into the worksheet. So let's go ahead and just check out how this works. So let's say indirect, there we go, and I want this to say budget, by the way. This is what I'm doing in my A2 formula. So we're going to do ampersand and then the row A2. That should do it. So now it's going to have a string that says budget because it copies from A2. It references A2 and creates a string here. Now the string I could use in another formula if I wanted to, and that's the power of this. It's not really what I want to do here. So what I want to do is address. So we could do, let's try address. Address can return an address in relative or absolute format and can be used to construct a cell reference inside of a formula. And that's what we're going to get to eventually. I'll just show you how this works really quick. Let's do equals address. And the formula here is pretty cool. So it asks for the row number first. So we're going to go with 4 because we want B4 from the first worksheet. So 4, comma, 2, which is B. So that's the column number. 2 is B, AB. This is really the cool part of this function, in that you can choose if the whole B4 in this case, or the 4 and the 2 are absolute values, which means they never change if the cell is copied down or things are inserted. You can make it the absolute row, but a relative column. That means the column will change, or a relative row and an absolute column, which means the column would stay the same and the row would change if you copied it or inserted rows. And then both would be relative for the 4. So what we want to do is do a 3 where the row will be relative but the column is absolute in this case, comma, and then the style that it will be copied over in, style reference 1. Oh, we also, there's a fourth option here, which is the sheet text. The sheet text is budget. So let's go ahead and type in budget and then hit enter. So I'm gonna do it wrong here. Oh, I skipped it. 1, comma. That's the A1. Okay. So now this returns something that we would normally see here. Budget exclamation point B4. So this address has now created a string that I could reference inside of a formula using the indirect tool. So let's leave that. What I really would like to do is have one cell that I have to change per worksheet. So if I were just to type in B4, let's go ahead and keep that. Let's type in that. So let's test out some scenarios here. So let's say the indirect formula. Indirect. I'll show you how this works really quick. We have we got to have the single quote. So to get a single quote in a concatenated formula, you have to do double quote, single quote, double quote, and ampersand. Let's do a absolute, the budget. So we're going to do A2 here, and this isn't going to change. So we'll do $sign to make it absolute. $sign 2, and then we'll go ampersand, and then we need that single quote again. So we'll do double quote, single quote, and then the exclamation point, double quote. And you'll see what that will give us in a second. And then we're going to do ampersand $sign N22, which is nothing. I'm sorry, address. This is where the address comes in. Address, open parentheses, and then row B4 and column B4. So this is if we want the column and the row to change relative to what we're doing. So I'll show you how that looks. Row B4 and comma column B4. There we go. Let's see what that looks like. What I do? I probably forgot parentheses. Oh, that's what I did. Not $sign. It's B4. There we go. All right. So that does go out, and it gets us budget row 4. Column B, which is that $2,500 here. That's that. So that's another way of writing it. What happens when I pull it down? Let's see if these numbers change. They don't, which means that each of these went up to B6, B7, B8, B9. So this will work for pulling those ranges. However, the problem still remains that for me, when I copy this over, it's not going to change this to C. February, which is the C column, will not change automatically within this formula. Let's go ahead and look at B $sign. Was it $sign? $sign B. $sign B. So for row 20, I would like to do, I'd like to change this a little bit so that ultimately I'll only have to change in 20 to C. I can change this to $sign C when I get to the February worksheet. So let's go ahead and look at what that would look like. Okay. So we're going to keep our indirect. We're going to keep our open single quote, parentheses, single quote, parentheses, $, and the budget, the name of the budget here. What we would change is how we wouldn't use the address anymore. Let's use, we have the and. Yep, we have the and. Let's do $, in, because we do not want that to change, and $20, because we do not want that to change as well. So that's going to be an ampersand, and then row B4. Right? Okay, let's try that. So this now keeps our value correct. $, this N20, that's absolute, is always going to be our $B, and the row that we're pulling back is going to be the 4, row 4, which is important. So this is always going to be row 4. When we copy this down, it keeps the same numbers. It changes to B9 at the bottom here. I'm going to show you how to do this really quick. We're going to copy Control C into this so that we copy this formula down, drag that down, copy this formula, Control V, copy this down. Now, one of the things that we're going to have to change in our formula is what it looks like over here. So when we copy this over here, it's going to look at the B4 column because the row is 4 here. We have to change this to B45, which is where the vehicle loan is on the first sheet. So B45 is where it is here. If we were to go down B45, that's what we want it to be. So really quick, we'll drag this down, copy the formula, Control C, Control V. This just makes sure that we have the right row, Control C, Control V. And I do this because I want to have everything on our actuals on one page so that I can visualize it and see it. All right, so that's it. So this first worksheet is complete for January. We definitely want to, so we ended up not using these. I was just showing you how these work. We'll leave them for now, but as we copy this, right click January, move our copy, move to the end and create a copy, rename this to Feb. As we go to February, we'll go ahead and see, I should have changed this up here too. Well, I forgot to change this, but we can do that. Anyway, so it's February, but the only thing we have to change to get the new numbers here, because this is still B4, this is still B45, the only thing that we need to change, remember that February is $2,800. We just have to change this one field to C. When we hit enter, all of these numbers update, all these formulas update to the C value. Even though this says the same, this row only cares about the 4. It doesn't care about the B at all. But now everything is C because this is C. So the column value in this indirect formula is $C, and then row 4 for that one. Row 5, row 6, row 7. All right, so as we go throughout the year and we create a copy, the only thing that we'd have to change there is this value right here. And I think that's about it. So if you have any comments or questions about how to use address or indirect in a spreadsheet, go ahead and leave me a comment. If you got something out of this or appreciated it, then please hit the like and subscribe screens. And as always, thank you for watching.